To save my fiancé, I was disfigured by bandits, and one of my legs was left disabled. After marriage, I was despised by my husband and slept alone for 6 years. As I lay bedridden with illness, my husband said to me with disgust, "If you hadn't been so nosy that day insisting on saving me, I would have married Ruru long ago, and she wouldn't have married the wrong person and died so tragically." Only then did I realize that the one he loved was his cousin. Upon rebirth, I returned to the day when the bandits captured Jiang Xinru. I fiercely whipped Qin Yu's horse. "I'll fulfill your devoted heart." At the moment of rebirth, the handsome young man sitting on his horse said to me through gritted teeth, "Lin Zhao Zhao, me cousin was taken by bandits yet. You're blocking me from rescuing her. How can you be so cold and blooded?" I hadn't yet recovered from the suffocation before my death when I was jolted awake by this scolding. Looking up, Qin Yu on the stallion looked much younger, his face like jade, his eyes like bright stars, the appearance I loved most in my previous life. The words he used to scold me were exactly the same as in my previous life. I realized that I had been reborn. Touching my own smooth cheeks, free of the deep uneven scars, and my right leg moving freely, I wept tears of joy. Fortunately, none of the tragedies had happened yet. "Lin Jiao Jiao, get out of the way. Even if you cry, I'm still going to save Ruru." My horse was blocking right in front of Qin Yu, his eyes full of fury. "I've thought it through. If you want to go, then go. But before you leave, our engagement is cancelled." I took off a piece of mutton dan fat white jade pendant from my neck. The crystal dan clear, top zan quality mutton dan fat white jade shimmered with flowing radiance under the sunlight, and still carried my body warmth as I held it in my hand. This was the betrothal token from when the Marquis of Jingbei's manor proposed marriage when I was 8 years old. I had worn it for 8 years. In my previous life, he insisted on going to save Jiang Xinru. He couldn't stop him, so I went along. His martial skills were too poor, and he got injured because he was outnumbered. To save him, I had my face injured by mountain bandits, and also injured one of my legs, making it difficult to walk from then on. Bound by the marriage contract and gratitude, he married me. Yet, he was disgusted with me in every way, making me depressed and bedridden with illness. Only before my death did I learn that this pair had long been secretly involved. Even my deteriorating health was because Qin Yu had secretly used methods to harm my body. Thinking of all this, I wish never to see them again. This trip of Qin Yu's was dangerous and unpredictable. I didn't want to be entangled with the Marquis of Jingbei's manor, while bearing the title of his fiancé. "The one you like is your cousin, right?" Qin Yu's face looked somewhat embarrassed as I hit upon what was in his heart. "So what if it is? Ruru is gentle and delicate. Unlike you who only knows how to wield swords and spears. She is much more sensible and tactful than you." "Fine. Then let's break off the engagement. I, Lin Jiao Jiao, don't want you anymore." "Listen well, our bond is just like this jade." As soon as the words left my mouth, I flung the jade pendant to the ground, shattering it into pieces. Qin Yu didn't expect me to be so resolute and froze for a moment. I turned my horse around, pulled out my riding whip, and lashed his horse's rear viciously. "I'm fulfilling your devoted heart." The steed neighed and galloped away with him in a cloud of dust fast as a streak of lightning. His guards followed closely behind. I put on an act of being utterly heartbroken, swaying at just the right moment before fainting. Before falling, I calculated the angle perfectly, and was caught by my personal guard. Reborn once, there is no way I'm following Qin Yu to my death. This time, without me risking my life to protect him, Qin Yu will have to fend for himself. After returning home, my parents hurried to my courtyard to see me. I pretended to have just woken up and explained the whole situation to my parents. Mother held me with reddened eyes. "Zhao Zhao Yao, you've been wronged. You did well. Why marry that kind of man? Breaking off the engagement was the right thing to do. Come to think of it, this marriage arrangement was made by my father and Qin Yu's father while drinking. When Mother found out, she grabbed father's ear and scolded him, saying marriage is a major matter, Why be in such a rush? Father begged for mercy while muttering. That boy Chinyu is 1 in 100. I call it striking while the iron is hot. What do you know? How do you know he won't change in the future? Time leaves no trace, but human hearts change easily. Having endured the torment of my previous life, I finally realized Mother's words made sense. Back then, I really did think Chinyu was the best young man in the world, handsome and incredibly good to me. He was 2 years older than me. Our families lived close by, and I'd been following him around ever since I learned to walk. When other kids bullied me, he'd chase them away and stand up for me. At 7, he flew kites with me, running together across the green grass in spring. At 10, seeing how I loved playing with swords and staffs, he sparred with me every day, though he always lost to me. Later, when his father passed away, the thin young man cried inconsolably and made me promise I'd never leave him like his dad did. I promised. At 20, he gave me a wooden hairpin he'd made himself and told me he would marry me. Back then, his eyes were so clear and pure that my face turned red with shyness, and I too believed I would surely marry him. When did things change? The year I came of age, his cousin came from Zhangyan, a delicate, timid little thing who could compose poetry, paint, and embroider exquisite handkerchiefs. Chinyu was carefree and casual around me, but in front of her, he suddenly became gentle and proper. But Chinyu said one must be polite in front of outsiders to avoid being laughed at. Back then, I was still thrilled, thinking he considered me one of his own. Only later did I understand. It wasn't that he was being polite because he considered Jing Xinru an outsider. It was clearly because he'd fallen for her. My thoughts were pulled back. Father had been scolded by Mother, and knowing he was in the wrong, he hastily agreed. I felt touched. It had been several years since I'd seen my parents looking so vibrant, and it had been so long since I'd enjoyed the love of family. In my previous life, 3 years after I married, my parents returned to the northwestern battlefield, and unfortunately, both perished while fighting the Quanrong. In this life, I must protect my parents' safety and be a good filial child to them. At midnight, there was finally news about Chinyu and Jiang Xinru. Chinyu's face was severely injured, both legs were badly damaged, and he was still unconscious. The doctor said if he woke up, he might have difficulty walking for the rest of his life. Text even worse injuries than I had in my previous life. I heard Chinyu's mother couldn't handle the shock and fainted on the spot. Jiang Xinru was fine though. He had protected her well. I curved my lips in a smile. This pair sure had deep feelings for each other. But could Chinyu, with his disabled body, still satisfy Jiang Xinru's thirst for fame and fortune? How long their love could last, I would wait and see. After Chinyu was injured, I had the servant boys from the household find some storytellers. I had them turn the story of how Chinyu abandoned his fiancé to rush into a den of thieves to save his cousin, only to end up severely injured, into a script for those storytellers to tell in the tea houses. In just 3 days, everyone in the entire capital knew about Chinyu's deep affection for Jiang Xinru. Chinyu's mother, Lady Liu, came to our door to discuss having me marry over earlier, saying it was for a joyful occasion to dispel bad luck, because Chinyu has remained unconscious until now. My parents were furious when they heard this. Originally, they wanted to wait until Chinyu woke up to discuss breaking off the engagement. Unexpectedly, the Jingbei Marquis Manor still had the nerve to push their luck, and in their anger, they directly drove Lady Liu away. Unexpectedly, the next day, there was a commotion outside the manor gates. A young maid hurriedly reported that Lady Liu was crying outside the manor gates, accusing our family of breaking faith, saying that upon seeing her son was crippled, we were making a fuss about breaking off the engagement. My parents have hot tempers and couldn't stand such slander, so they angrily rushed to go out. I stopped them, saying, "Father, Mother, this is your daughter's own marriage matter. Please let me handle it myself." My parents had lived in the military camp for years, How could they compete with the schemes and machinations of those inner courtyard women? In my previous life, I suffered many losses at Lady Liu's hands before I wised up. Outside the main gate, Lady Liu had cried until her eyes were swollen, weeping and accusing our Zhengguo general's manner of being heartless and unrighteous. Beside her, Zhang Xinru, in a white dress, delicate and timid, mournfully stated that she and Qin Yu were merely cousins and had absolutely no illicit feelings. The two sang in harmony, drawing sympathy from many people. When I came out, countless pairs of eyes stared at me, with contempt and disdain. Many people in the crowd were whispering, "This is the young lady of the Duke Zhengguo's estate. Right, her heart is truly black, bullying others just because they're orphans and widows." Exactly. How can a marriage engagement be treated as child's play? Lady Liu really won't give up, still trying to use public opinion to force me to acknowledge this engagement. No way, Mother Zhananzhan doesn't want to break off the engagement, simply because my father is a first Dan rank General Duke Zhengguo. With such a powerful Inzhan family, she can support the increasingly declining Marquis Jingbei's estate to flourish. In my previous life, Qin Yu, who wasn't skilled in martial arts, indeed obtained the position of Deputy Commander of the Imperial Guards with the support of my parents, and later latched onto the 6th Prince, rising all the way up. In this life, our General Duke Zhengguo's estate won't be that stepping stone anymore. Before I could speak, Lady Liu struck first, looking at me with reddened eyes. "Zhao Zhao Yao grew up with you as childhood sweethearts, and listens to you the most. Why didn't you stop him that day when he went to save Ruru?" As she spoke, Lady Liu's tears streamed down. "Yu's father died early. I only have this one son. If only you had stopped him back then. How am I supposed to live now, woo-woo?" Heh, trying to turn the tables on me, pushing all the responsibility onto my head, forcing me to marry Qin Yu. Good thing I already thought of this possibility that day. I pinched my thigh and squeezed out a few tears. "Mrs. Shin, I know your son is injured and you're feeling terrible. But that day, I tried to stop him for so long and couldn't hold him back. And I even fainted from anger because of Brother Yu. If you don't believe me, you can ask the common people around here. I had already advised him it was too dangerous. That saving people should be carefully planned. But he wouldn't listen. He said his heart only had room for his cousin. I already said right then that I was cutting all ties with him. He didn't even care when I fainted from anger, only thinking about saving his cousin." "Woo-woo!" she cried miserably. But I cried even more miserably. Soon, the common people started to sympathize with me. Ugh! What kind of situation is this? The girl's fiancé got crippled for another woman. And now they want the young lady to marry him and serve him. Did this girl owe their family money or dig up their ancestral grave or something? Exactly. I heard her son still hasn't woken up, yet she is rushing to have someone marry in for good luck. Guess she doesn't feel bad since he is not her birth son. Public opinion quickly reversed. Hearing those words, Mr. Slee's face alternated between red and white. "Miss Ava, I'm still an unmarried young lady. You slandering my reputation like this, I might as well just bash my head right here and be done with it." Zhang Xinru looked grieved and stricken, and made as if to rush toward a pillar at the manor entrance, but was held back by maids and servants. She cried so pitifully it would melt anyone's heart, like a little white flower swaying in the cold wind. Common people always sympathize with the weak, and seeing her so agitated, the prevailing sentiment shifted again. I wiped away my tears, even more indignant than her. "Miss Zhang, everything I said is the truth. Why must you put on this act? Who knows, maybe you're already carrying your cousin's child in your belly right now. If you don't believe me, we can have a physician check your pulse." As soon as these words came out, the onlooking crowd erupted, and even Madame Liu stared at her belly suspiciously, even showing hints of delight. I raised my voice again. "Miss Jiang, why don't we call for a physician right now? If you're not pregnant, I'll accept the charge of slandering you. And our Zhengguo general's manor will also accept the infamy of breaking faith and promises. and will honor the marriage agreement. Whether the Marquis of Jingbei is alive or dead, I will marry into the family." When father and mother heard this, they panicked and wanted to speak up to stop me. I signaled them to remain calm, then continued. "But if you are pregnant, you'll kowtow to me 3 times, and this marriage will be called off today." I spoke with absolute certainty, and Jiang Xinru seemed to think of something, her face turning deathly pale. I was certain she was pregnant. It was on my deathbed in my previous life that Qin Yu told me through gritted teeth. He said that when he married me, his cousin was already carrying his child. It was because my parents forced him to promise a lifetime of monogamy that Jiang Xinru had no choice but to lose the child and marry someone else. She ended up marrying a wastrel playboy, and unfortunately passed away. Jiang Xinru touched her belly, panic surfacing in her eyes. I believe that at this moment, the person who most desperately wanted me to marry Qin Yu was her. Life or death unknown, who knows if she'd become a living widow right after marriage? Even if Qin Yu woke up, he'd be a cripple. How could she possibly tie her whole life to a man like that? Her frail body swayed, and she fainted on the spot. Conveniently, there was a Huichun hall across the street. After the old doctor checked her pulse, he said she was nearly 2 months pregnant, had been worrying too much, and fainted from the shock. The engagement was called off smoothly. In less than 3 days, this became gossip for the common folk of the capital over tea and meals, and the Jingbei Marquis Manor's reputation was ruined. Many people sympathized with me. The legitimate wife hadn't even entered the household yet. But the fiancé had already produced an illegitimate eldest son with his cousin, and the Inzan laws publicly forced me to accept this marriage. I didn't care about it because I had more important things to do. It was currently late spring in March. 3 months later, Zhongzhou would face continuous torrential rains. The Yellow River would breach its banks, and countless people would die. In my previous life, just 1 month after my marriage, Qin Yu voluntarily requested to provide disaster relief. And it was then that he got involved with the 6th prince, who was the imperial envoy for disaster relief. My mind raced. According to convention, such an important matter should be presided over by the crown prince. But the crown prince had just been sabotaged by someone, leaving him with lingering health issues and a weak body, which led to the 6th prince's rise to power later on. Over these years, I often entered the palace and had seen the crown prince quite a few times. A man as graceful as an orchid or jade tree. Unfortunately, the late empress passed away early, and he wasn't favored. The 6th prince's maternal grandfather is Duke Lua Senior Minister, serving 3 reigns, and his mother is the favored consort Zhao. There have long been calls in the court to depose the crown prince and establish the 6th prince as the new heir. Since Qin Yu is backing the 6th prince, in this life I'll help the crown prince instead. Absolutely not giving Qin Yu any chance to turn things around. I secretly sent people to find out the crown prince's whereabouts, learning that he would go to Siguang Temple to pray on the 8th day of the 4th month for Buddha's birthday. So I disguised myself as a man and went out. After arriving at Siguang Temple, I found a young novice monk and had him pass a note to the crown prince when serving tea. I didn't know whether the crown prince would believe what I said, so I could only wait for the result. The crown prince lived up to my expectations. On the 20th day of the 4th month, when he was supposed to encounter danger while boating on the lake, he remained safe and sound, even capturing several people with treacherous intentions. And during the heavy rains in Zhongzhou in late June, the Yellow River didn't breach its banks. This was only because 2 months earlier he had memorialized His Majesty, saying that with the rainy season approaching, more inspections should be conducted in the Yellow River region to reinforce the embankments. His Majesty had the Crown Prince personally oversee this matter. The Crown Prince took charge himself and rushed to the Zhongzhou section. Sure enough, he discovered several deficient projects and immediately had them repaired. When the torrential rains came, some areas still suffered floods, and His Majesty directly appointed the Crown Prince as Imperial Commissioner for Disaster Relief. He had prepared ahead, with medicinal supplies, tents, clothing, and other materials fully stocked. In areas where flooding was severe, he also evacuated disaster victims in time, so there were no major civilian casualties. By the time the Crown Prince returned to the capital, it was already September and early autumn. During these long months, I saw Chinyu once. He woke up on the 7th day of his coma. His marriage to Zhang Xinru was arranged in April, and they wed in May. There was no choice. Zhang Xinru's belly couldn't wait. The wedding was held hastily, getting married after pregnancy before marriage was looked down upon by aristocratic families, so not many guests attended. Not long after they got married, I saw them at the Duke of England's grandson's one-month celebration. Chinyu wore a half-silver mask on his face, sitting in the pavilion by the lake. His red brocade robe fluttered loudly in the early summer wind, and his eyes no longer held their former high spirits. Only 2 servants accompanied him. I didn't see Zhang Xinru. She was probably cozying up to those noblewomen. Seeing Qin Yui turn to leave, Qin Yu said to me, "Zhao Zhao, can we talk for a bit?" I stopped in my tracks, standing 3 steps away from him, staring at the lotus flowers in the pond and the fish swimming around. "What is there for us to talk about?" "Zhao Zhao Zhao, I'm sorry. I didn't know my mother went to your house to force the marriage. It is already past." I didn't want to discuss this anymore. I finally married Ruru, but I don't know why. Something feels off. I keep feeling that the person I should have married is you. Chinyu lifted his eyes to look at me, with inexplicable emotions surging in them. I felt a wave of disgust listening to this. Was he pouring out his heart to me? I said coldly. Everything has its gains and losses. Isn't this what you've been longing for? Your beloved has already married you, and you'll soon be a father. What else is there to be dissatisfied about? He murmured. Indeed, I got my wish and married Ruru. What is there for me to be unwilling about? I ignored him and left directly. I knew what he was unwilling about. He now had an empty title with no real power. After his injury, his previous position as general of the left guard of the Forbidden Army had already been filled by someone else. For an ambitious man, losing his prospects was equivalent to losing everything. Once the sweetness of the early days of marriage faded. However much he loved Jing Xinru now, he would surely hate her just as much later. I hadn't walked far before I ran into Jing Xinru, her face full of anger. When she saw me, she looked somewhat surprised, but proudly walked past me with quick steps, her already showing belly thrust out. By the time she reached the lakeside pavilion, I hadn't gone far, and I heard her tearful complaint. "Husband, the Duke of Ying's wife and Princess Zhaoyang bullied me. Seeing that you have no official position now, they mocked me as a pauper who can't even produce a decent piece of clothing. All right, it is just a piece of clothing. When we get back, I'll buy you whatever style you want." His tone carried a hint of impatience. "Did you just meet with Lin Zhaozhao? What did you two talk about? Don't tell me you still can't forget your old feelings for her? Don't talk nonsense. You should watch when and where you throw your tantrums." Chinyu's voice was suppressed with anger. I was somewhat astonished. In my previous life, Chinyu was always gentle and soft and spoken in front of Zhang Xinru. I didn't expect they weren't as lovey-dovey as I imagined. It has only been 2 months since they got married, and I'm looking forward to watching their show unfold. In September, Crown Prince Xiaoqian returned to the capital, and His Majesty held a grand palace banquet to welcome him. The Crown Prince had already come of age, having achieved great merit this time. His Majesty was extremely pleased and drank a few more cups. He swept his gaze around the hall and asked if he had any woman he fancied. The noble ladies present instantly straightened their backs, and many young misses blushed. I figured it had nothing to do with me, and ate my pork knuckle without any regard for appearances. When wiping my mouth, for some reason, I felt like Xiaoqian seemed to glance at me. The Crown Prince's clear and gentle voice rang out. "This son only wishes to share the court's burdens and has no plans to marry for the time being." After the palace banquet ended, I felt a bit dizzy from drinking a few cups of fruit wine. Mother was pulled aside by familiar noblewoman to chat, so I walked to a quieter courtyard to sober up. The night breeze was gentle. Under the dim yellow palace lanterns, The pink fluffy flowers of the silk trees swayed in the wind, their fragrance overflowing, brilliant as rosy clouds. I was a bit mesmerized for a moment. Does it look good? A pleasant voice came from behind me. I turned to look. It was Xiaoqian. This subject's daughter greets the crown prince. I hastily performed a curtsy. Who knew? The alcohol hit me. My steps became unsteady, and I nearly fell. Just when I thought I'd fall flat on my face in front of the crown prince, he caught me by the waist, so close I could hear the strong heartbeat in his chest, and even smell the pleasant scent of spikenard on him. I felt my face flush with heat instantly. I tried to push him away, but he let go at just the right moment. Miss Ava, that note, was it from you? After a moment of silence, I nodded in admission. The crown prince wasn't as weak as I'd imagined. I thought I'd hidden it well, but he still tracked it back to me. Excellent. The person I've chosen is capable, so I can confidently move forward with deeper cooperation. Why help me? And how did you know about those things that hadn't happened yet? Helping your highness is simply because I feel you are benevolent and kind, Dan-hearted. A good crown prince, and will surely be a good emperor in the future. As for knowing those things, it was a fortunate coincidence. For several nights in a row, I dreamed about these events. I thought, could this be a warning from heaven? So I took the liberty of sending you that message. Fortunately, my dreams came true. Xiaoqian studied me carefully, seeing my calm expression. He finally spoke. Regardless, Miss Ava is my benefactor. If you have any request, as long as it is within my power, I will make it happen. His attitude was quite sincere. A month later, a major event that shocked the court and the public occurred. A large silver mine was discovered in Tongzhou. The sixth prince, who reported this matter, rose in status overnight and received many rewards from His Majesty. My brow was twitching non-stop. This thing clearly happened 2 years later. So much earlier than that, could it be that Qin Yu has also been reborn? In my previous life, was it Qin Yu who got the information and reported it to the sixth prince? I thought he was already a Feiren, and as long as I added a few more fires, the Jingbei Marquis manor would decline. But I didn't expect things could still take a turn. I went to Mingque Tower for tea, and when I came out I ran into Qin Yu with just one glance. I could tell he, like me, had been reborn. His eyes no longer held their usual childishness, but instead, the aura of a superior who had experienced years of ups and downs in the Guanhai from his previous life. Zhao, let's sit down in a private room. Qin Yu's tone was not one of discussion. I just so happened to want to know what he was planning to do. So I silently entered the nearby private room. After the attendant wheeled him into the room, he closed the door and left. Zhao, I know you must have been reborn. Otherwise, you wouldn't have failed to go with me to save her like you did in the previous life on the day Ruru was kidnapped by mountain bandits. I don't know what you're talking about. If you're sick, go see a doctor. I didn't go with you to save your cousin simply because I discovered the illicit affair between you two. I deliberately kept a cold face. Qin Yu was deeply scheming, having mingled in official circles for years in his previous life, while I was just a woman from the inner quarters. Now that I've lost my advantage, I can't guarantee I can beat him. Do you really not remember things from before? Does the crown prince avoiding that danger have anything to do with you? I looked at him with feigned surprise. I don't know what you're talking about. The crown prince is far away in the court. What connection could a boudoir lady like me have with him? After the trials and tribulations of my previous life, my acting skills have become much stronger in this lifetime. Qin Yu believed that women should be chaste, quiet, and virtuous, adhering to the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. It was only after I married him in my previous life that I discovered he had the same flaws as other men. He is so arrogant, I'm gambling on whether he'll believe my words. Suddenly, Qin Yu burst into hearty laughter, unrestrained and carefree. Heaven truly helps me. Zhao, let's start over. I only now realize how ridiculously wrong I was. After I was injured, I finally understood how hard Zan won your love for me was back then. I truly love you. I was so shocked I nearly dropped the teacup in my hand. Did he suddenly come to his senses and want to pursue me again? If I had heard these words from him in my previous life, I would have been moved to tears, but now, I only feel utterly disgusted. You say you love me. Do you want to divorce Zhang Xinru and marry me? Qinyu seemed troubled. Ruru is about to give birth. Divorcing her wouldn't be reasonable. Do you want me to be your mistress then? No, I know you still love me. I'll find a way that is best for everyone. In my fury, I raised my hand and knocked the mask off his face. The silver mask fell to the ground, revealing the left side of his face with its shocking scars. The entire left side of his face was crisscrossed with scars, making me feel a pang of sympathy. Qinyu, you broke your word and betrayed me. When you were intimate with Zhang Xinru, did you ever remember our engagement? Even if you weren't injured, I would never look back. My eyes were full of naked mockery and disdain. In my previous life, he and his mother had said these words to me countless times, and even said things far worse than this. I was just returning them to him exactly as they were. Qinyu frantically tried to pick up the mask on the ground. His undamaged right face was very pale. The hand groping on the floor had veins bulging, and was still trembling. Clearly my words had wounded his self-esteem. I thought he would get angry, but he didn't. Zhao Zhao, you know you're still mad at me. Just wait, I will definitely marry you. This person truly had delusional fantasies. Remembering the days in my previous life when I was locked in the back residence, never seeing the light of day, fear surged over me like a tide. No, he had to fight back. At this moment, I clearly realized that only by making Qinyu never rise again could I escape the shadow of being controlled by him. Because of the silver mine matter, Qinyu was arranged to serve in the Ministry of Revenue as a 4th Jan rank vice minister. And for a time, the Jingbei Marquis Manor showed great momentum of restoring its former glory. In the winter of the Senshiba year of Jinghe, several heavy snowfalls hit the capital. The Crown Prince, benevolent and caring, set up soup kitchens, distributed winter clothes, and provided relief to disaster victims. The common people were all grateful. The 6th prince followed closely behind. But no matter how he performed, he ultimately fell short. For a time, the struggle among the princes and the factional battles grew increasingly fierce. During this period, the Crown Prince and I became ever closer. This snowstorm disaster was particularly severe in my previous life, with countless houses collapsing and affected people. Thanks to my advance warning, this snowstorm disaster was safely weathered, but I was also completely exposed before Qinyu. He was very angry and blocked me at the back corner gate of my home. Zhao Jiao? Why won't you listen? Can't you just stay properly in the inner quarters? I promise I won't confine you like in the previous life. Wherever you want to go, I'll go with you. Qinyu, if you want to enjoy the blessing of having multiple wives, wait until you've beaten me first. We parted on bad terms. At the same time, I discovered that Zhang Xinru was having close dealings with a handsome man. I stumbled upon this while drinking tea at Mingqi Pavilion. That man was dressed luxuriously, with an extraordinary bearing, and Zhang Xinru looked at him with a face full of joy. I had someone track down that man, and after some pressure, he honestly confessed. He had merely noticed Zhang Xinru's expensive attire, and knowing her husband was disabled, wanted to use sweet talk to swindle her money and affections. My lady, we've only met twice. I haven't managed to deceive that madam yet. This humble one won't dare again. I blew on the tea foam floating on my teacup and smiled with a curl of my lips. Don't stop. That madam and I aren't friends. You can continue getting close to her. After it is done, I can safely get you out of the capital. Zhang Xinru gave birth to a daughter last October. Liu Shi used to be very fond of this niece, who had lost both her father and mother, but because of Qinyu getting injured while saving her, she already had a grudge in her heart. It was only for the sake of her pregnancy that she suppressed that anger. Seeing that she gave birth to a daughter, the anger could no longer be contained. I heard that after Jiang Xinru finished her postpartum confinement, she had to pay morning and evening respects every day. And if she didn't do well, she would be scolded. Being nitpicked by her mother Zan-in-Zan-La was a daily occurrence. The torment I suffered in my previous life, she is finally getting a taste of it in this lifetime. What is ridiculous is that during the flower festival in February, Qinyu and I unexpectedly ran into each other by the riverside. He actually left Jiang Xinru behind, followed me, and complained to me about how unreasonable Jiang Xinru was. Zhao Zhaoyi originally thought that since they're aunt and niece, they would definitely get along better than you and your mother Zan-in-Zan-La did in your previous life. Who knew they'd come crying to me every other day? I'm already busy enough at court, and I still have to deal with these trivial matters. I really regret it. Why can't she be sensible like you? Sensible? This is truly a great mockery of me. In my previous life, after I married into the family, I also complained to him about my mother Zan-in-Zan-La's harsh treatment of me, but he found me annoying and said I only knew how to nag about these trivial matters all day long. Later on, I never bothered him again, just silently endured it all. Back then, my face was injured, and I couldn't move around easily. I didn't dare go out at all, drowning in my inferiority complex, thinking that I should be content that Qinyu was willing to marry me. But I only ended up like that because I saved Qinyu. He owed me from the start. Looking at Qinyu sitting in his wheelchair with furrowed brows, I wondered how I could have been so blind in my past life to fall in love with such a heartless person. Qinyu, it is not that I was understanding. I simply had no choice back then. Your mother is a mean and spirited woman. In my past life, when I came to you with my grievances, you found me annoying. I loved you so much then, and was afraid you'd hate me, so I kept quiet and endured it all. You're just a man with no backbone, only knowing how to be a coward, watching two women who love you fight until their faces turn red. It was like that in my past life, and it is the same in this life. Qinyu was furious at my words. He wanted to argue back but couldn't say anything. His eyes gradually dimmed, and finally he spoke. I'm sorry for making you suffer, I didn't know. Did he really not know? He just had no heart. Look, this is what he calls love. In my past life, he was cold and distant to me in every way. In this life, having married Jiang Xinru, whom he has been pining for, he still complains just the same. This kind of man has no heart. He only loves himself. This segment is really hitting hard. It ruthlessly exposes the most terrifying kind of selfishness. Some people's love has always been self-centered taking. They never reflect on their own problems, only nitpick at their current partner, reminisce about their ex's goodness, but forget how much grievance was endured in exchange for that ex's goodness. Just like Qinyu, who was extremely cold to Lin Zhaojiao in his past life, and constantly complains about Jiang Xinru in this life. Essentially, it is all because he only loves himself and can't tolerate anyone not conforming to his imagination. Lin Zhaojiao's line, "This kind of man has no heart. He only loves himself," really hit the nail on the head. It is precisely this awareness that allowed her to completely break free from the tragedy of her past life, and ultimately become a female marquis who conquers battlefields and benefits women. This segment not only lets people see the true face of selfish men, but also makes people understand, when facing this kind of person who only loves themselves, cutting losses in time and focusing on yourself is the most correct choice. On the 5th day of the 5th month, the Dragon Boat Festival, Lady Jiang Xinru, wife of the Marquis of Jingbei, was caught having improper private relations with someone. That man was restrained by the household guards and actually claimed to be the 5th prince. Jiang Xinru even wanted to climb her way into the imperial family. Hard to say whether she is ignorant or fearless. His Majesty's 5th prince does indeed have a bad record of being involved with married women, and was once grounded by His Majesty for a year because of this. But that person was a complete fraud, who somehow managed to talk Jiang Xinru into complete confusion, swindling her out of money and affection. Jiang Xinru was also restless. Having a child, Qinyu had feelings for her too. as long as she didn't stir up trouble and behaved herself as a proper marquise's wife. She could enjoy wealth and glory for a lifetime. That is why they say human greed is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. His subordinates reported that when Qinyu found out, he was furious. He immediately drove Zhang Xinru out of the marquise's manor, divorced her with a written decree, and left her to fend for herself. That imposter man naturally had no threat to his life. I had given him a pill beforehand that could make someone fall into deep sleep, and took advantage of the chaos to send him out of the capital. I warned him not to swindle people again. Otherwise, even if he fled 1,000 miles away, I would hunt him down to the end. That man swore up and down, and only then did I let him go. Having resolved one matter weighing on my mind, I went to my favorite opera house to listen to a performance. Unexpectedly, when leaving the opera house, I ran into Qinyu again. His face was flushed red with a strong smell of alcohol. Clearly he'd drunk too much. "Zhao Zhao, can you talk with me for a bit?" I was actually quite happy to see him in such a devastated state, so I went with him to a secluded corner. "Zhao Zhao, you really regret it. Zhang Xinru is just a heartless person. She told me everything. Being kidnapped by mountain bandits back then was something she planned herself. She wanted to make me anxious, to pressure me into breaking off the engagement and marrying her. She just didn't expect that those thieves would actually try to double-dan cross her and keep her as their bandit chief's wife. This result truly surprised me. I never imagined that in my past life's tragedy, Zhang Xinru had played such a significant role. "Zhao Jiao, you've already driven her out. She definitely won't have a good ending. In your previous life, she harmed you until your face was completely ruined, and you suffered so much ridicule. I've helped you vent your anger. Are you happy?" The Qinyu before my eyes became more and more unfamiliar, completely lacking the refreshing breeze and bright moon appearance that had once moved my heart in his youth. "Qinyu, shut up. You drove her away for yourself, not for me. She harmed you until you were covered in scars and lost your ability to move, made you lose your future, and even carried on affairs with others behind your back. You hate her even more than I do, don't you? Zhao Zhao, do you really hate me that much?" Qinyu seemed to be in some pain. "Hate? How could I not hate? In the previous life, it was you who secretly used methods to harm my body, making my health deteriorate day by day. Between us, there is no possibility whatsoever." As soon as these words came out, Qinyu's face turned deathly pale. I want to use this lifetime to make it up to you." "How will you make it up? With your current appearance, or with your inconvenient body?" My words showed no mercy. Qinyu's face flushed red, and his fingertips gripping the wheelchair armrest turned white. Because both I and Qinyu knew about the previous life, the Crown Prince and the Sixth Prince each established several great merits, and the open and covert struggles in the court became increasingly fierce. In early August, at His Majesty's 50th birthday celebration, Samanon attempted an assassination. At the critical moment, the Crown Prince blocked the dagger that was aimed at His Majesty. The entire Imperial Medical Academy went to treat him, taking a full 3 days before the severely injured Crown Prince was out of danger. The Crown Prince risking his life to save his father deeply moved His Majesty. At the same time, the capital magistrate and the Court of Judicial Review joined forces to investigate, and actually discovered that the mastermind behind this assassination was the Sixth Prince. Pulling out the radish brought out the mud. All the followers behind the Sixth Prince were arrested and thrown into prison. The Sixth Prince insisted that the assassination was fake, that he only wanted to stage a fake assassination and then save His Majesty, so he could defeat the Crown Prince with an overwhelming victory. Unfortunately, the Crown Prince got to rescue His Majesty first. No matter how he explained, the fact remained that the Crown Prince was severely injured. The Emperor was already suspicious by nature. How could he believe his explanation? In his fury, he stripped the Sixth Prince of his title, reducing him to commoner status and confining him for life. Even the Sixth Prince's birth mother, Imperial Consort Zhao, was cast into the cold palace. The person who gave the sixth prince this idea was none other than Qin Yu. His Majesty issued an edict to severely punish the Marquis of Jingbei's household. Qin Yu was imprisoned, and everyone in the Marquis's household was to be held accountable. And the one pulling the strings behind this whole affair was me. After the verdict came down, Qin Yu was thrown into prison. I took the crown prince's token and went to see him in the cell late at night. In the dim prison cell, Qin Yu's white prisoner's uniform was covered in filthy stains. He lay on the damp straw, the mask on his face already gone, his face covered in grime, looking utterly wretched. Hearing the sound, he opened his eyes slightly, his cloudy eyes filled with bloodshot veins. When he saw me, his eyes showed surprise and delight. "Jiao Jiao, ye knew you couldn't bear to part with me and came to see me. I'm about to be punished, so you should forgive me now, right?" "Qin Yu, stop being so self-absorbed. I only came to see your downfall. I won't forgive you. Seeing you so pathetic now makes me feel great. Do you know why you lost?" Qin Yu looked at me suspiciously. Facing him, I softly said 2 words. Understanding what I said, Qin Yu's eyes widened. Then he burst into laughter, laughing until tears came out. "Who would have thought? You actually made the person I trusted most turn against me. I'm inferior in skill, I admit defeat." Qin Yu's biggest mistake was looking down on women. What I said was Li Luo, his most capable confidant from his previous life. Right after discovering he was also a rebirth, I spent a fortune to find Li Luo, bought his freedom from a human trafficker, and he acknowledged me as his master. I had him pretend to be seriously injured and collapse on the road, where Qin Yu would return home. Qin Yu, getting his confidant from his previous life ahead of time, was overjoyed. He had him handle several tasks, all completed perfectly, and later didn't avoid him when discussing important matters. The plan to assassinate His Majesty was revealed to me by Li Luo. Seeing his desperate and broken appearance, I laughed heartily and walked out of the prison cell. Behind me, his choked sobs came low. "Zhao Jiaoyi truly loved you. It is all that heartless Zhang Xinru's fault for seducing me. Otherwise, we would have been a loving and happy couple. We used to be so good together." I was speechless. Even now, he was still shifting the blame onto Zhang Xinru. If his love for me had been steadfast, whether it was Zhang Xinru or Li Xinru who came along, we could have lived happily ever after and grown old together as we had promised. Who told him not to stay true to his heart? I left the cell. In the dark corridor, the damp cold wind blew through the window. His voice was scattered by the wind, growing fainter and fainter until I could no longer hear it. After leaving the prison, a fine drizzle was falling outside. A silk umbrella was held over my head. Beneath it a slender, jade Zan-like hand with prominent knuckles. "Even knowing you're cooperating with me to borrow my power? I'm still willing, Miss Ava. Would you be my crown princess?" Xiao Qian looked at me, his eyes full of tenderness and anticipation. The wind blew past, his white robes fluttering, as if he were an immortal. To be honest, compared to Qin Yu, he surpassed him by a wide margin in appearance, character, and temperament. Over this past year of cooperation, it wasn't that I hadn't noticed his feelings for me. Love is too bitter, and married life is even more like an abyss. I don't want to try again. What hits me hardest in this part is Lin Zhaojiao's refusal to settle in self-love. She didn't force herself just because Xiao Qian was excellent, didn't compromise to the worldly view of grab onto good things when you meet them, but firmly followed her own heart. Since romantic love is too bitter, and marriage is an abyss, I simply won't touch it. I want to live for myself. To charge across battlefields. To protect my home and country. To do what I want to do. This kind of clarity, not treating love as a life necessity, putting self-worth first, is really so cool. Your Highness, thank you for your regard, but there can be nothing between us. I am a narrow Zen-minded woman who doesn't submit to the 3 obediences and 4 virtues, and I won't tolerate my husband taking concubines. After your Highness ascends the throne, You will surely select suitable young ladies from official families to join the harem, to balance the court. I don't want to become unrecognizable in endless competition for favor and waiting. Moreover, my aspiration is to become a hero like my parents, charging across battlefields, protecting my home and country. Xiao Qian looked at me for a long while, then smiled and said, I won't force anyone against their will either. To be honest, Miss Ava's wish was also my own wish in the past. The Imperial Palace is too boring, so I wish Miss Ava the fulfillment of her desires. 2 months later, Xiao Qian settled on his crown princess, Tang Wangxian, the legitimate daughter of the Grand Tutor. I had met her before. She was a well-read, reasonable, gentle, and virtuous woman. The Quanrong were stirring again, so I went to the northwest together with my parents. This time I trained in the military camp for over a year before going to the battlefield with my parents. I think I must have inherited my parents' military talent. Since childhood, I couldn't do music, chess, calligraphy, or painting, but I had a special fondness for military strategy books. Every military book I could get my hands on, I could recite backwards and forwards. Once on the battlefield, I was surprisingly adept and repeatedly achieved military merits. A year later, with my warning, my parents avoided the trap that would have killed them both, caught the enemy off guard, and routed the Quanrong completely. We fully invaded the Quanrong royal court 2 years later. From then on, the Quanrong pledged allegiance to our dynasty. After returning triumphantly to the capital, the former crown prince, now Emperor Zhaohe, was overjoyed, rewarded my parents, and granted me the title of Marquis Xingxi. I became the first female marquis of this dynasty. After the palace banquet ended, Xiao Qian asked me to stay and talk. Looking at the bright moon in the sky, he sighed with deep emotion. Miss Ava, do you know, 4 years ago when you said you didn't want to enter the palace, my heart was melancholic, and I even had the thought of asking Father Emperor for an imperial decree to grant us a marriage directly. At that time you said you wanted to ride across battlefields and defend our country. Your eyes then were brighter than the moon in the sky, and I was moved by you. The facts have proven that letting you go was right. You are a fish swimming freely in the water, an eagle soaring in the sky. If you had been confined by the cage of the imperial palace, there would be no Marquis Pingxi today. There was a gratified smile in Xiao Qian's eyes. I knew he had let go. A caged canary in the palace versus a fine general defending the homeland. Naturally, the latter carries more weight. Many thanks for your majesty's recognition and fulfillment. When I raised my eyes, we smiled at each other. Such is the understanding between ruler and subject. After returning to the capital, many young talents came to propose marriage, but I rejected them all. Over these years, I galloped across battlefields, and amid the rolling gun smoke, witnessed countless separations between the living and the dead. Several times I brushed shoulders with death itself, and the thought of marriage had long faded from my heart. Though father and mother were anxious, they still respected my wishes. The world is vast and life is short. There are many more valuable things waiting for me to do. I opened schools for women, established medical clinics for women, set up embroidery workshops and handicraft workshops, helping countless women escape their predicaments, teaching them to carve out their own piece of the world with their own hands. In my previous life, I was constrained by my limited horizons, trapped in a small courtyard for a miserable lifetime. After leaving the capital, I discovered that women too could engage in commerce, practice medicine, and establish independent households, holding up half the sky just like men. Even in the cities where father and mother were stationed, when manpower was short, women also took up weapons and defended the city walls just like men. These things that previously existed only in the stories father and mother told me, I witnessed them all with my own eyes. I was deeply shaken, and then wept. These truths I only understood in this life. I want more lost and helpless women struggling in pain to know them too. Because I got caught in the rain, I want to hold an umbrella for others. A woman's life must never be confined to a small square world. When we achieve rebirth from a desperate situation, we too can shine brilliantly. I cried for a long time after reading this ending first. Let's talk about Xiaoqian. Honestly, he is truly the best heart-wrenching second male lead you've ever seen. No, he doesn't even count as a second male lead, because there is no male lead in this story at all. He liked Zhao Zhao, got rejected, and then what? He didn't pester her, didn't force an arranged marriage, didn't use his power to bind her. He said, "Letting you go is right. You are an eagle soaring in the sky." An emperor who possesses the entire realm when faced with the woman he likes, chose to let her fulfill herself. This is true love. Not possession, but hoping the other person becomes the best version of themselves. Xiaoqian, you are a good person, but more importantly, you are a good emperor. Now about Zhao Zhao's rejection of Xiaoqian. You read that passage over and over again. She has lived 2 lifetimes, and knows all too well what kind of battleground the inner quarters are. In her past life at Qinyu's Marquis Manor, she was tormented by her mother, in-law disdained by her husband, secretly harmed. That square courtyard was her prison. She finally got to live again. How could she possibly jump into another, even bigger cage? The imperial palace may look magnificent and golden, but for a woman who yearns for freedom, it is just a gilded cage. Zhao Zhao saw through it all too clearly. Compare Qin Yu's ending: imprisoned, family ruined. Then look at Zhao Zhao, ennobled, established schools, changed the fate of countless women. This is the difference in perspective. One spent their entire life blaming others, the other spent 2 lifetimes achieving themselves. Although the story had a perfect ending, I personally feel this world still has so many stories to tell. If there is a sequel, which storyline would you most want to see? Drop your number in the comments. Fei Li Luo side story arc. That undercover agent who Zhao Zhao redeemed from human traffickers and planted by Qin Yu's side. What is his real story? How did a young man born into slavery walk on a knife's edge, having to gain Qin Yu's absolute trust, while secretly passing intelligence to Zhao Zhao? Did he ever waver? Did he almost get exposed? Fei past life truth arc. How exactly did Zhao Zhao die in her previous life? How many hidden secrets are there behind it? What is the complete truth about Zhang Xinru's scheme of being abducted by mountain bandits? What role did Lady Liu play in it? Retrace it all from the past life's perspective, and see how much carefully planned malice was hidden behind those accidents. We thought we knew. Xiaoqian's perspective arc. From the moment he received that anonymous note, what exactly did this unfavored crown prince go through? How did he step by step go from could be deposed at any moment to ascending the throne as emperor? Women's Academy route after Zhao Zhao is ennobled. She establishes a women's academy and women's medical clinic. This story is the chapter that truly changes the era. What kind of girls will the academy accept? What resistance and opposition will they encounter? Will there be a girl who graduates from the academy and becomes the next Lin Zhao Zhao? No longer one person's comeback, but the awakening of a group.